question of who am I is actually a beginning rather than an end. Because that question itself is actually the question that takes us very deeply into meditation. And so on a path, for example, of Gyan Yoga, a path of inquiring, a path of wisdom, a path of knowledge, one of the most fundamental and beautiful places to start is simply with the question, who am I? And even if you don't necessarily identify yourself as being on a path of Gyan Yoga and you just want to meditate, you want to just know, what am I here for? What's the point? Don't worry about labels. Don't worry about whether you think, oh, I'm a Gyan Yogi, or oh, I'm not a Gyan Yogi. Doesn't matter. If you want to have the awareness, have the truth of who you are, it's a beautiful place to meditate on. But the reason I say it's the beginning rather than the end is usually when we ask a question, it is simply the means to an answer. And so either it's a theoretical type of question, how can I be happy? And then we get answers, and hopefully, if we're not wasting the time of the person who's answering them, we take those answers and we actually implement them, and slowly, hopefully we become happier and happier. If it's a literal question, can I have a glass of water? Hopefully whoever you've asked will bring you a glass of water and then end. So typically questions are the means to an end. Whether I'm going to get a theoretical answer from someone that I can then implement, or whether I'm literally simply asking for a glass of water, or can I get a room here, or would you move over please, or whatever question I may be asking. I'm looking to get something from it. But the reason that I say the question of who am I is a beginning is the question itself actually takes us on that path. It's not a question that we're actually looking for an answer to. It's not the means to an end. It's the beginning that then becomes the end in and of itself. So I could ask you, may I have a glass of water? May I have a glass of water? I could do that 10,000 times. But until you actually show up with a glass of water in your hand, that question's not going to serve me in any way. My thirst isn't going to be quenched. I'm not going to be any better off. The question only serves me when you actually hear me and show up with a glass of water. If I say to you, excuse me, you're blocking me, could you move over? Again, I could say it 1,000 times. But until you actually do it, it doesn't serve me at all. Who am I is a question that actually serves me, simply in the asking of the question. Because as I ask myself that, it's not one where the answer that someone else is going to give you serves you. And that's what distinguishes it from other questions. So if you say to me, how can I be happy? I could lay it out. 10-point program to happiness. Now you've got to go home and implement it. I can't inject you with happiness. But I can give you sort of a 1, 2, 3, and you can go home and you can make a list and you can say, okay, 1 tick, 2 tick, 3 tick. And hopefully, if you actually implement them, you'll start to develop, or discover rather, happiness in you. But for who am I can sit up here and I can say to you, you are soul, you are spirit, you are consciousness, you are love, you are truth, you are divinity. And that's not actually going to do anything for you, other than hopefully whet your appetite to go and meditate on that and actually ask it within the self. It's not an implementable 1, 2, 3 teaching. Who am I is the question that becomes the end in and of itself, because you ask it 1,000 times inside, unlike the glass of water that you never got, you actually do get an awareness of who you are. It comes from within. And that's where the question itself becomes the end, not just the means to the end. As you ask it, as you ask it, as you ask it, as you ask it, as you meditate on it, just keep asking. Just keep asking. And what will happen is your mind will start to throw things at you. You're so-and-so's daughter, you're so-and-so's wife or husband or mother or boss or employee. You're rich or you're poor or you're thin or you're fat or you're old or you're young. You're smart, you're stupid. Your mind will start to throw things at you. And this is where, simply with this practice of not this, not that, not this, and do it gently, because you don't want your meditation to become a debate session. You don't want it to become an analysis session. The point of meditation is actually to find the stillness between the thoughts, to find the space between the thoughts. Meditation gives us an experience, a knowing that we likely wouldn't have words for, and that's great. So when you ask the question, and when the mind throws these incorrect answers at you, don't get into a debate about it. You don't want to turn it into a verbal game with your own mind. But just this practice of not this, not this, not that. And the way that we know it, you can debate it when you're not meditating, is if something is mine. So for example, if you think you are your body, you are the beautiful one, you are the ugly one, you are rich or poor, as I said, or fat or thin, whatever it may be. If you can say my body, well, it's not me. My body, it's mine. I possess it. My body, not me. My mind, not my mind. If I can say my, it means there is an owner, there is a possessor, right? If I say my glass of water, well, clearly I'm not the glass of water. There's the my who's saying, or the me who's saying my, and then there's glass of water. If I was one with the glass of water, there's no place that I could say my glass of water. So if I possess this, clearly it's not me. So my body, my mind, my thoughts, my emotions, my fears, my ego, my complexes, my history, my identities, my personalities, all of these things that we think are me. Oh, I am funny, I am popular, I am angry, I am happy. Well, you're not those things. Those are emotions that you're having, or personalities that you have, or identities that you have. It's not you. And the reason that we know that is, if you are anger, well then when you're not angry, who are you? Do you cease to exist when you're not angry? Or if you are happy, well, do you cease to exist when you're not happy? If you are your thoughts, or you are your mind, well, do you cease to exist when the mind, miraculously by God's grace, is still for a moment? Of course not. So, who am I? As you just do that, as the mind literally throws things at you, you just have to gently go, not that, not that, not that, not that, not that. Picture just a really gentle, ping pong paddle or tennis racket or whatever in your mind. You can just picture gently kind of knocking that ball. The mind is throwing a ball that says, oh, you are rich, or you are stupid, or you are ugly, or you are great, or whatever it may throw at you in that moment. And just picture yourself kind of, not that, not that, not that, not that, not that. You're bad, not that. You're good, not that. And eventually, as you keep saying, who am I, who am I? And you knock everything the mind has to throw at you. Again, no debate, no analysis, just not that, not that. Eventually, the mind stops throwing these balls at you because it realizes they're not sticking and it's not getting anywhere. And eventually, in that question, an awareness emerges. And that's where the question becomes the end in and of itself. So all I can do from up here is point the way for you to have the experience. The other thing I can do is remind you of who you are not, which is your body, which is your roles, whether you are the lowly window washer and you think you're never going to be anything, or you are the great president and CEO and the in charge and the boss and the important one, or anyone in between. Whether you think you're stupid or you think you're smart or you think you're the best or you think you're the worst, or whatever you think about yourself, you're none of those things. Whether you identify in any relationships, you're not those. And the reason we know that, and again, you can debate at times that you're not meditating, you can introspect on it at times that are not your meditation times. So you realize, well, I was saying I long before I became a doctor or an engineer or a lawyer or the president or the window washer or this one's wife or husband or this one's mother or father, or rich or poor or beautiful. I was saying I long before all those things. And I'll be saying I long after all those things. And so who's that I that's constant? And that's what we go in and meditate on. And until you have the actual experience of who you are, at least you'll have the experience of what you're not. And that in and of itself creates a great sense of spaciousness within you. When you know you're not your ego, then it's a lot easier to look at it and to say, oh yeah, that's just the games of my ego. Oh yeah, that's just the programming of my childhood. Or oh yeah, that's just, this complex thing I have, I'm working on it, but in the meantime, I don't let it bother me too much. Or, oh yeah, there's this. And we don't get stuck with them. We don't identify as them. We don't allow them to run our lives. We keep bringing the awareness back to the truth of who we really are. And that's the practice of the meditation.